afternoon. This is Chair Brian Haggerty. We're calling this meeting to order on July 29th at 3 p.m. I think it's a little after 3 p.m.
3:06 p.m., sir.
3:06 p.m. The first paragraph.
I don't have that.
Let me go ahead. This meeting will be held by teleconference in light of state and local emergency directives regarding COVID-19. The teleconference audio can be accessed by dialing in a toll-free number 1-855-797-9485. Enter the access code 145-430-3342 to access the call. And when requested, enter through an audio feed found at youtube.com, go EPCC. Any member of the public wishing to make a comment or question regarding an agenda item can email the comments or questions to the following email address: boardquestions@epcc.edu. All backup and related materials for the meeting can be accessed at the following link: epcc.edu/administration/board of trustees. I want to welcome everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Pam, can you call the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Uchter.
Present.
Ms. Sanchez. Late. Mrs. Robles. Present. Ms. Nahara.
Present.
Senior.
Present.
Dr. Grande. Present. Mr. Haggerty.
Present. Any public comment?
No, sir, not for this meeting.
Okay. Number 5. Is he here? Or is he?
Give us
Okay. Go ahead.
Item 5, discussion items. Item 5.1, Mr. Paulo Perez, Program Manager, EPM, will provide an update briefing on the progress of the combined fee revenue improvement bond series 2016 program. Briefing items will include, but are not limited to, a general update including schedule and budget for all 6 projects, as well as an overall bond schedule and budget update.
All right, Mr. Bettis, are you on the line?
Yes, sir. Ready to go. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, sir. You're on. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, Dr. Serrata, Judge Haggerty, and board members. I will get right on to it and start by giving an update on Mission Del Paso. And as you can tell, we're making great progress. This is an exterior view, and what I can tell is what they're doing where the black areas are where these areas is where the planning and the landscaping is going to go. So they still lack a bit on the exterior. They're not quite ready for a punch list on the exterior. They're missing some pavers in this area, because it turns out that the paver production was delayed considerably. So we're actually looking with the help of the architects to use a different paver so we can get it a little faster than that. So as you can tell, all the classrooms have been punched. The furniture, actually the chairs are being moved in as we speak. And we actually have all the rooms, including the restrooms, ready for occupancy. The only areas they're not ready are these areas that, the common areas, roughly, except obviously the bathrooms. It's this area, the main area in the interior, where they're laying out the wood. I don't know if you recall me mentioning before that we needed the building completely climatized, and we'd have to climatize the wood as well. We are actually scheduled to punch all the rest of the architectural by August 13th. And the only remaining work should be the outside, the exterior. So as you can tell in this area here outside, that's the area that's lagging behind. And but what we're counting, actually, we're planning on starting moving the equipment next week. So after the punch list on August 13th, we should be pretty much ready to occupy the building again, with a caveat of not having the full site and grading done outside, because it's quite a bit. Actually, it goes out of the picture this way. But other than that, pretty much everything is complete. We still do lack the commissioning, and that's supposed to be August 17th. The commissioning agent is going to come by, but we can take occupancy with that. So we remain with an issue. This COVID issue really has caused quite a bit of a problem on this project. They've been keeping steady in the 40s. But they're sure working hard, and like you can tell, they've gotten quite a bit done. So here's what we're looking at, and really there's no change from the last board meeting. We're still looking at a substantial completion of August 17th, and then occupancy on August 24. It might even be a little early. Actually, we're partially occupying it already. So we're in good shape on that one. We feel pretty confident that with exception. Hello?
Mr. Perez?
Yes, sir.
This is John Uxer.
Yes, sir.
You're holding that you will have the punch list by August 17th. That means that you're going to have all the rooms ready and cleaned and
yes,
stuff
sir.
done?
So that's the plan. On the interior, sir. Uh-huh.
Well, you're going to have all that done in 2 weeks.
Well, yes, because
you're going to have the stairs finished. You're going to have the stairs fixed out. You're going to have the water damage fixed up. You're going to have all of the rooms cleaned up in 2 weeks.
That's the plan. Yeah, and it won't take that long. The one caveat, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, so everybody knows, there was one of the workers hit a sprinkler head on the second floor that caused some damage on the second floor on the west side, and so they've been not been doing work in that area. It's not that big of an area, but they have not been doing work on that area because they're waiting on the insurance company to come verify it. But they still feel pretty strongly that they'll get done by the 17th. Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you say on the second floor, you also are meaning that you'll take care of the damage and water damage on the first floor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The incident happened on the second floor, but the water, yes, sir. I should have clarified that.
Okay, just thought we'd want to make sure that was happening.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I think you're going to have. I would really like to see all the floors cleaned and the stuff moved out. All the stuff moved in 2 weeks. That's going to be quite an accomplishment.
Well, yeah, it's going to be definitely quite an accomplishment. But they're determined. So we'll see. But I feel pretty confident that they'll get it done. I just had a talk with their. I had a talk with their project director about an hour ago, and I again asked them, well, are we sure we can do this? Yeah, we'll have by the 17th. There will be still some punch list items remaining. It's not a final, but
that's what I thought.
I'm sorry.
I said that's what I thought, that there might be a punch list or two still remaining.
Yeah, exactly, yes, sir. But in terms of having all the floors finished and all these things taken care of, that's the plan. Yes, and we'll stay on top of it. We have somebody there every day keeping track of these things.
Let me compliment. See, is it Cesar Salcedo? Is he your man on the site?
Yes, sir. Actually, you'll be moving on to another project starting Monday, and then Jaime Munoz, which is a Valle Verde, and myself will be handling the day-to-day, but with Cesar's support still.
Yeah. Well, let me complicate Mr. Salcedo and Mr. Villalobos. in their understanding of what's going there. I thought that they made a very good presentation, and I'd like to compliment them on being aware of everything that needs to be done.
That's great.
Because
Yeah.
they pointed out quite a bit of information day before yesterday.
Yeah, we actually, that's part of our management style, is we want to keep everybody on. Actually, I talked to Josh, Dean Villabolos, about a couple hours ago too, about starting to coordinate the equipment move. So yeah, we're in very, very close contact with all the parties involved. No doubt about that.
I'm glad you're confident of all that.
I am. Actually, I'm more about this one than when we get to Valle Verde. That's a little different story.
Well, tell us that story then.
Sir?
I said, then tell us that story.
Well, when I get to Valle Verde, I certainly will.
Okay, I'll mute.
Thank you. Any other questions before I move on to Rio Grande? Oh, and I got a surprise for y'all. If there's no more questions on mission, I actually was able to drag, most of you know David Rollins. He's the assistant program manager, and he's been actually working on this project much longer than myself. And I was able to drag him away. He's there every day at Rio Grande. I was able to drag him away to give us an update on Rio Grande, and also to whenever we get to the action item about the EMS system, he'll also speak about that. He's certainly much more involved with the day-to-day of those issues. So I figured we'd have a treat today and have David present it. So I'm actually having problems with audio, so I got headphones right now. So we're gonna switch to the headphones. All right, everybody, can you hear me?
Yep.
Those who don't, okay, good, thank you. Those who don't know me or have come on later, I've been absent from board meetings for a while. This is David Rawlings. I am the assistant program manager. I've been on since the inception of your bond project, and but I've been for the last couple of years out there daily at Rio Grande, and happy to present this to you. Happy to be here. So let's see what we got here. On the left-hand side, one thing to note that we started the exterior framing on this. We've been placing concrete for such a long time. There's so much of it. Again, on a 7-story building with a roof and everything being concrete, I'm happy to report a major milestone that we are through, as you can see, with the roof. And the only thing we have left is the penthouse up on the mechanical penthouse up on the top. And already we've started the exterior framing, as you can see on the left. We have a construction elevator. The tower crane that we're so used to seeing will be leaving in a few weeks. It's got a few more things that it has to do as far as like setting the major mechanical units on the roof. And then it's got to set a canopy on the front of the building, where that's going to take place next week. We're set up with Symetra for that. Notice there's on the left-hand side upper, there's a construction elevator. It's already operating. It serves the 6th, 7th, and the roof, because otherwise there's no direct access. And we're working on stairs now, getting them completed. One of the more exciting things too is finally on the occupied floors, the other 2 photos you see on the left and on the right are showing the work starting on the 6th floor, the north end of the 6th floor. And as I'm coming to you today, I just got off job site. They've pretty much finished. There's some drywall going in already, and they finished to the half of the floor, and mechanical subcontractor has started. You see the plumber's already completed a lot of overhead work. Electrician's been in there as well. So great progress on that. And on the exterior stud work. So quite exciting to move on from continuous concrete pouring and getting the structure down and moving on to the interiors and the instructional spaces inside. So here's another view looking down into the yard back from the El Paso Street side. And you can see on the right-hand side what I'm talking about, that stair tower there with the penthouse remaining to be formed. We're going to place that August 4th, so next week. You can see on the roof we're stockpiling some roof insulation. So we've already spoken to the roofing contractor. He's ready to go
You can see other various things we're stockpiling, like parts of the stairs and what have you. So we're going to get all the stair towers completed. ThyssenKrupp, our elevator subcontractor, is also going to start. I've already seen them on job site this week, and their materials are on site for one of the elevators. So that's exciting to get that accomplished as well. So I won't, as Paulo told me, don't bore you with going through all the points that you can read yourself, but I've hit the major points of that. And let's move on to the schedule. We have relatively high confidence in that we can get this taken care of by especially since we have all the subcontractors on job site doing the various trades. We're still looking, we project at December 14th, substantial completion. After that point, of course, there would be some punch lists, getting everything buttoned up and finished out properly. And then it gives us a little bit of cushion here to get move-in. We feel that move-in on this one will be as challenging as any other. We have medical equipment to have to put in there and what have you. But we'll start talking well in advance with the dean's office and physical plant and faculty on site about getting the furniture, fixtures, and equipment in properly coordinated, so we're not waiting on that. We can try to get some of that done. We know that the 6th floor will be completed faster than the 7th floor. As I said, we finished we got stud framing in and a lot of work going without drywall on the 6th floor, half of it. We just started this morning stud framing on the 7th, on the half of that. So that's great to see that happening. So we do feel confident at this time we can make the 2021 mini mister. All right, looking
David?
at this. Oh,
David?
Go ahead, John. John, go ahead.
This is John Uxer. Listen, for the benefit of those others listening, Dean Hajar and I had a tour yesterday of the building with Mr. Rollins. Notwithstanding any comment on scheduling, I'll leave that up to him, but I'd be very interested once you get to the punch list thing. But I was very, very impressed with the detail and the attention that we described, particularly the electrical detail, the Wi-Fi complement in the garage, the placing of all of the fire systems and the intimate design that goes with that, the elevator. I'm still, if it still cost $100,000, I still wish you'd have the architect would have put in that third elevator, but like you told me, that isn't going to happen.
And it's the fourth one. We have three, yeah. And that's a fourth. Fourth one. So,
but
future.
I just wanted to compliment that. Once you actually walk the ground and look at the facility itself, to realize the magnitude of the project and what a compliment it looks like it's going to be, particularly the areas they're being framed out for offices and classroom space. I think that it's going to look great. So I want to tell you in front of everybody else that we really appreciate the in-depth presentation that we got yesterday. So thank you.
Oh, quite welcome. And John, I know you would say that, emphasize that, with prior setup like we had, and it can be relatively, short notice, we can accommodate anybody who wants to be on job site. Before, that was a little more difficult. We didn't have the construction elevator, and literally some of these areas are only accessible through ladders. But now we have much better access, and we can accommodate people a lot easier. And there's more interesting things going on, like you mentioned, such as the interiors getting formed out, and you can start to visualize how, exactly like you said, visualize how this facility is going to look.
Yeah, so, one other thing, I'm very impressed with the fact that you've only had one on-site accident. Mm-hmm. I mean, given all the stuff I had to look at and step over and around, you did a good job. Or the contractor did a good job. So
yes, I compliment on that. On also we go over every week the safety and that, and they're very safety conscious. This had potentially, you can imagine all the material moving, the crane, all these forming of these huge areas, how potentially dangerous that was. And fortunately, we had one incident, and that worker he's healed up and has returned to work. So we're very fortunate in that. We're very complimentary with our general contractor for doing a good job on that.
Yeah, just one other general comment just to the board. I'm very pleased when I went with the facilities that the respective deans at each location are very familiar with what's happening. They can walk the ground and say, this is what we're going to do here. This is where I'm going to get that. They know what's going on. They have an understanding. There's a plan. And so I think that the switch, the handover to actual EPCC operations is going to go great, and I just want to compliment the deans that I've had the pleasure of going touring with. So thank you.
Yeah, if the board isn't aware, the deans do, at least that I'm aware of, do personally attend all our weekly meetings, and there's a high level of commitment. There just is. Here we are on the chart showing our S curve. Not very S-shaped. I just updated this, just trying to show distributing out the remaining money that we have to bill as far as planning. You can see that we're off. Obviously it's behind, and the pace. But at some point, those lines are going to converge and get closer. We're going to start billing some more, especially now we have all the subcontractors on board. And same thing is reflected in this chart here, just showing again planned payments in blue versus actual payments in orange. All right. With that, if there are there any? There's manpower. Thank you. Thanks, Paula. Showing on manpower, one thing I want to note is that our contractor, just like the others, does take the COVID situation seriously. I'm in the same office complex with the safety officer, and we always emphasize that. Wear face mask, all that good stuff. Long story short, Rio Grande fortunately has not been affected by COVID. The spikes, the general workers on site has remained steady, fortunately. The spikes you see are generally the exterior crew coming on and having more work to do, or a concrete placement crew coming on, and we have a nice spike like that. I expect these numbers to go up as we get more people on the interior crew from diversified interiors. Fortunate, same people that are doing Mission Del Paso did a great job out there. They're a great company. We're going to get the elevator people on site and what have you, and this will start ramping up a bit. But the important thing is we haven't lost, to my knowledge, we haven't lost anybody to COVID yet. So, okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to Paulo.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. I don't know about you, but I think David could be a sportscaster. He's got a great radio voice. So moving on to Valle Verde. So as you can tell in this picture, most of the exterior, actually we're like 99.9% done with the exterior. As far all we lack is on the right here in this area here, there's going to be EPCC logo that's being manufactured as we speak, and they had to do some changes to the structure to be able to hold the logo up. Other than that, as you can tell, already even started landscaping. The irrigation is not in yet, but they're watering everything by hand. And as you can tell on this side, this canopy is done. All the site work here is done. The interiors, all the labs are finished. Now let me go to the next slide. The site concrete is 80% complete, and that's one, again, kind of not unlike Mission Del Paso. They're lacking some work outside, but they're still progressing very nicely, and we do have full access to the building. As far as being in the dry, when this picture was taken, if you see these louvers down here, they were not in place, but they are now in place. They go right here. So now we're literally dried in, which is the initial step to get the building climatized. So that's a major benchmark that was reached. As far as the low voltage cable, it's and the lighting fixtures. That's our Achilles heel on this project. Unfortunately, as it comes to light fixtures, the contractor, as you recall, as a new electrical consultant, not consultant, sub. And as such, you know, they had to get all the light fixtures and pay for them from, it's the Crescent is the name of the company that had all the light fixtures. Now, because of poor planning, there's another way to put it, is they come to find out now that we're missing the lighting controls for all the lights, plus some additional light fixtures to the tune of $256,000, which they will have to pay. But unfortunately, the delivery for those items, it's going to take us into October. So let me move on to the next slide so you can see. So really what we're looking at right now, I'm still, if you look at my little confidence chart here, you can tell I moved to the left. Actually, Mel was wondering if I shouldn't have moved it one more here. And at this point, it's back, and I know this sounds almost like a broken record to you. If they do what they're planning on doing, and if they actually do it, there shouldn't be a problem with them having the building ready by the 19th. From my experience, from what I see, I don't see it at this point. I actually, yesterday, I had a meeting with the deans after our regularly weekly OAC meeting, and we had this discussion that very likely it won't be ready for the fall mini master, but we owe it to everybody to keep the pressure to get that done. And again, if they do what their schedule shows and what they're planning on doing, it's achievable. It's just based on the experience, I just honestly don't see it. Again, keep in mind, and I reminded the contractor just yesterday that don't forget where the liquidated damages clock is ticking. So from that standpoint, they're well aware of that. Let's see. So here's the schedule benchmarks. For a change, I actually show some green check marks, which is good. Unfortunately, the building climatized not being until 8/21 is not necessarily the end of the world, but all building lighting for 10/13 is a pretty major slip. And again, I fault poor management on their part, but they're at least trying. As far as the equipment startup, that's not a big deal on that one. It's great that the backbone cabling is completed. Now, this one is a big slippage too. So what we're seeing, just based on the analysis of what they are doing, is that both the fire alarm, access control, security, because if you recall, I show you those rooms, communication rooms need to be done, particularly the one in the first floor, if you recall that from the previous meeting. And until that first floor room is called MDF room is ready, we can't have connectivity. And without connectivity, we cannot test the fire alarm. Now, there's some discussion about seeing if the fire department of the city will allow us to use a cell signal instead of a copper signal. Means that it's a hard wire like you have your phone in your home. And a cell signal will be something just to allow us to test through a cell rather than the hard connection. We're looking into seeing if the fire marshal will allow us to do that, but at this point, we don't have a determination yet. This is another project that fairly recently is really been impacted by COVID, and that certainly doesn't help as far as the manpower. They're at the lowest they've been. Yet again, they are still trying. It's not like they're decided to leave the project. They certainly still trying to get the project done, albeit slowly. The overall quality of the work is really not bad. It's actually quite good. It's just slow. So any questions on Valle Verde? Because I know this is not necessarily good news. So. No? Okay. Going on to the safety, I mean, we're up to 721,000 hours worked. And like Mr. Huxas said earlier, it's fantastic. We only have one incident. It's not fantastic for the person that got injured, but from a global viewpoint, it's really very, very good that this is what it's looking like. So looking at the current, I left Valle Verde Class Lab. I might have to update this at the next meeting, but I left the Valle Verde Class Lab in the fall mini-master for now. We're still feel fairly confident on Mission and in Rio Grande. So as far as the bond budget, as you can tell in the upper left corner, this was printed July 21st, 2020. I just have a very quick update. It's not a big update, but I feel compelled to tell you since it happened last night. I actually transferred $36,000 from the Mission Del Paso contingency into the Northwest project, particularly because we are doing some additional mechanical work that was not in the drainage initially, but the college would really like to get that work done. So we might need a little more funds for that. So I went ahead and made that transfer last night. As far as overall bond funding, it's doing good. No changes from the last board meeting. Now going on to the action items. I'm gonna ask David just to come by where I'm at, just in case there's any questions. So I'll read the proposed action item. So the ECM International, as program manager for the Master Plan 2016 bond program, requests the Board of Trustees to approve a contract award for the upcoming Rio Grande building project to Education Management Solutions, EMS, in an amount not to exceed $745,000, which includes a 10% contingency for the purchase and installation of the Simulation IQ Enterprise Cloud, which is a simulation management platform for integrated recording, center operations management, and performance evaluation for educational training environments. The contingency will be added to the contract only if needed and at the sole discretion of the college district. This purchase would be conducted through United States General Services Administration contract, GSA, GS 35F 227BA, in compliance with Texas Local Government Code 271.03. Now, this is, and the reason I got David here is because I only have a very limited knowledge of this system, but in a nutshell, it's basically software. As you well aware, there's a sim lab in the Rio Grande project, and that's a very high tech type of setup. And as part of that setup, it includes a software management system that covers a number of things from scheduling, access and security, generating reports, simulating charts, records. So all this will get the students to be familiar with the way things are doing in real practice. So this is a humongous tool. It's an extremely great asset, and so it was definitely a good number that we got. As you can tell, it's important for me to mention that this is already budgeted. So I'm not asking for additional funds. This is part of that equipment line item that you see here in the budget. And as you can tell, there's $1,488,384 for equipment. As part of that, we had set aside $868,806, and the numbers came in at $676,821. So it's extra money that will allow us to give back to equipment. As you recall, we're pretty short in funds for additional equipment. So this difference here will be certainly welcome. Going on to the next slide, there's something I would be remiss not to mention. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at the attachments I sent with the board handouts just in case you needed additional information. But this is one that certainly stands out, and I'm kind of trying to preempt right now some questions because I'm sure that that's something you're wondering about. So there's estimated recurring annual cost of $197,470. The first year for that work is covered by the proposal, but subsequently you will have to come up with $197,000 each year after that. And what I thought is, if when they come for approval for these items, I want you to remember that I gave you a heads up. This is probably coming up, but it's important to mention that there was not only involvement from the architect and the dean, but IT department as well, and the cost to actually provide hardware to do this work and the subsequent maintenance, yearly maintenance to do this is actually cheaper. If nothing else, they balance. So with everybody's concurrence, IT, the dean, the architect, and ECM, we all agreed this was probably a better way to go about doing it. So just actually, Pam, are you supposed to read this item, or do you want me to read it?
I can read it if you'd like.
Okay.
ECM International as Program Manager for the Master 2016 Bond Program requests the Board of Trustees to approve a contract award for the upcoming Rio Grande Building Project to Education Management Solutions in an amount not to exceed $745,000, which includes a 10% contingency for the purchase and installation of Simulation IQ Enterprise Cloud, a simulation management platform for integrated recording, center operations management, and performance evaluation for educational training environments. The contingency will be added to the contract only if needed and at the sole discretion of the college district. This purchase would be conducted through the United States Civil Service Administration contract GSA GS35F 227BA in compliance with the Texas Local Government Code Section 271.103.
Motion to approve. This is Carmen Brand.
We have a second.
Second the motion.
Any question?
Yes.
I have one question. Annual fee of $0. Yeah, it's tuition.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear the question. There's a lot of echo.
Yeah, we're working on the echoes right now. Who's the question? So, everyone's muted. What we're looking at, the judge's question was with regard to how we cover this cost in the future. We will budget for it through our general revenue, Judge. And in the future, if we see the need to bring forward to the board either a fee or a different tuition status for these particular programs, then we'll do that.
All right. Any more questions?
Yes, Chair Haggerty, this is John Uxer. I do have one question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I understand that this expense is something that was covered in general in the budget. This is not additional items. This is just us giving approval now to actually expend something that was planned for already. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. And the annual maintenance question, yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
Any other questions? Other questions?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Ms. Sanchez let us know, Judge, and members of the board, that she was going to be late to this meeting.
Mrs. Robes,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara, Ms. Nahara, Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. 6.2.
hold on. Ms. Nahara, are you on the line? Okay, item 6.2, EPCC International as program manager for the master plan 2002 bond program. To approve a proposed change order PCO to HB Construction in an amount not to exceed $108,462 for upgraded marker boards, Idea Interactive Dry Erase by Parallax for the Valle Verde Classroom Lab Building Construction Project.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, this is John. Why? Why do we need these upgrades? What's the purpose? I'm sure it's okay. It's just that I'd like to have some explanation. I guess I missed out on it, what the deal is.
Yeah, and that's, I was about to do that. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Exer?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, so here's, and I was prepared to answer that question, actually. See, what happened was at the time the project was bid, obviously we went with the standard marker boards, because obviously it was a tight budget. But the AV consultant always recommended these boards, which I explained to you in a minute how this will work. But and we have the funding, and that's the big one. Now we're close enough to the end of the project that we actually can see that we can afford these. And let me explain because it's a considerable amount. So let me explain why it's still, and this includes the cost we're asking for, actually includes a credit for all the other marker boards that were already installed. So what we're talking about doing is, as you can see in this picture, these are called wall-to-wall marker boards. So what's in blue and red, it's the extent of the board. So instead of having just one or just two boards side by side, you have one board that's the complete length of the room.
Mr. Chris?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is this the board that you have hanging on the wall out at Mission?
No, sir. It's actually, we have that in our conference room here. No, the advantage of these boards is their touch. It's like if you're using an iPad. But so these areas here in the blue to the sides also allows, let me start by explaining why it's so wide. It allows for the projection where you have the image side, and then to the side allows for the teacher to write. And so this can be very convenient from that standpoint. The other huge advantage, and I really think this is the part of the reason why it's considerably more expensive, is that they are an interactive screen. So this is pretty much like if you're doing an iPad on the wall. You can touch and you can work with the computer like if you work on the board, basically like you work on the iPad. So that gives you a big advantage, obviously, from a pedagogical standpoint, and it certainly puts you on the board, no pun intended, as right on the top of high-tech performance in the building. Now, keep in mind, this will be just for Valle Verde, but this was something that really was highly recommended the consultant and highly endorsed by the deans, of course. So you can tell here, and Mr. Exer, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just that I saw the boards out at Mission, and they were explaining to me that they had that board where they would project on part of it and then had the ability to write on the other part. So I thought that this is the same board that's already out at Mission.
No. This is very unique, and it will be actually just at the obviously because of the cost. It will be just exclusive to Valle Verde, and also keep in mind that not only we're replacing all the boards, existing boards with the full length ones, but we're also adding some marker boards. Now on the first floor that doesn't happen, but then when you look at the second floor, you do have. And this was identified by the deans, some additional in blue locations to install these. So it's in our opinion, it's certainly a very good expense, and it's highly endorsed by the college.
Okay.
So the action item, Pam, you want to go ahead and read it, if you will, please?
I already read it, Paulo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. You did. So, okay.
Second already, so we just are ready
Do
to
you have any other questions? Do you have any more questions, John?
I guess my other question would be, are we providing staff development to make sure that they are maximizing the use of these boards, because they are very unique and helpful, but the teachers, instructors don't know how to use them, they will just sit there.
No, it's a great question, Dr. Graham, and we will implement through faculty development once we're back on campus and we're in face-to-face instruction, that we will have faculty development and training on the use of these incredibly powerful and unique whiteboards.
Any other questions? Oh, question.
Mr. Exer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez, are you on the line? No. Mrs. Robles? Aye. Ms. Nájera? Ms. Pena?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Item 6.3, ECM International as Program Manager for the Master Plan 2016 Bond Program, request the Board of Trustees to formally approve a proposed change order to HB Construction in an amount not to exceed $120,427 for 328 additional data drops in floor boxes in the second and third floor of the Valle Verde Classroom Lab Building Construction Project. Approve.
Second.
All right. You want to tell us what this one is all about?
Okay. So if you may recall or may not, it's been quite a while, but back in September 25 of 2019, we went to the board and asked for approval of some floor boxes that IT really recommended, and they work much better than what was specified at the time. And you did approve that change. And you probably may not recall, but at the time I said, I'm going to have to come back to you later. I think it was even Mr. Exer that asked, well, is this it? And I said, unfortunately, there's going to be more, and this is the more part. This is as you can tell just by looking at the devices, the boxes require a lot more additional connections. So what we did, and here's a breakdown of the cost. So what we did, we got with the IT and with the deans and determined the amount of drops that would be in line with what they require. And we came up with these amount of data drops, which it is quite a bit of the drops, but unfortunately the original design just didn't provide for that as many drops as they were necessary.
This is coming out of contingency?
Yes, sir. From construction contingency, yes, sir.
Any questions?
Mr. Uxer?
I'd like to compliment Mr. Paulo and Perez and blaming all this on me from last year. Aye.
Yes.
Does that mean yes?
I don't.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Nahara, are you on the line? Ms. Pena?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye. 6.3 then.
Okay,
Chair,
I believe that is all of
Okay,
the,
that's 6.2, we got to do 6.2.
we did 6.2 already, and then we did 6.3.
You sure we did already?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember.
Dr. Graham made the motion on 6.2, Mrs. Robles made the motion on 6.3.
How did we got it all covered?
Yes, sir, we did.
Chair Haggerty, if you want to go into executive session before we go into the Shawnee's presentation.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go into executive session. The time is 3:57. If the board members can be patient, I assume we have changed the system, so we can record
We're going to executive session now.
executive session.
You want to go ahead and read it?
Please have me read the,
Yes, sir. The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons. Consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice, or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation, or for any purpose authorized by law. Discussion about the value or transfer of real property. Discussion about a prospective gift or donation. Consideration of specific personnel matters, discussion about security personnel or devices, or discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding this item shall be taken in open session. Discussion regarding the possible purchase by the college of real property adjacent to Mission Del Paso campus pursuant to Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. And the time is 3:58 p.m.
this is Chair Hackney. We're back in regular session on our meeting of July 29th at 3 o'clock via teleconference. We have Ms. Josette Shaughnessy online. Could you read 7.1?
Yes, sir. Item 7.1, Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, Vice President, Financial and Administrative Operations, and Mr. Rick Lobato, Executive Director, Physical Plant, will brief the Board of Trustees on pending capital projects for the current fiscal year and fiscal year 2020/2021. And I would like to ask a question at this time. Should we call a roll vote to determine who is back online?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to call everyone by name, and you would let me know if you are on the line. Mr. Uxer. Mr. Uxer, are you on the line? Mr. Uxer, is that you? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Mr. Uxer. Ms. Sanchez.
He's gonna let you in.
Here.
If you need it, just unmute yourself.
Mrs. Robles.
Present.
Ms. Nahara.
Present.
Ms. Pena.
Present.
Dr. Graham.
Present.
Mr. Haggerty. Mr. Uxer, one more time, are you on the line? Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, are you there?
Good afternoon. Can you all hear
Go
me? Can you hear me?
Sort of.
Barely, we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a little better.
Okay, I will try to, how about that?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Chair Haggerty, Dr. Serrata, members of the board, and members of the audience. I realize that we're a little bit under some time constraints here, so we will try to move on pretty quickly. We want to thank you for the opportunity to provide you with this update on the college capital projects. As you have heard from previous budget workshops, the COVID-19 situation has created quite a few budgetary challenges for the college and our community. So to prepare for potential revenue deficit, cost containment measures have been implemented to include the postponement of physical plant projects. However, in reviewing the list of pending projects with Dr. Serrata, we think that the current situation may create a unique opportunity for some of these projects to move forward because we just don't have the majority of students and employees on college sites, at least for the fall semester. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide some recommendations for moving forward with some of the projects we deem important to complete during this next fiscal year. As you know, capital projects are administered by the physical plant department under the leadership, the capable leadership, I shall say, of Executive Director Rick Robato. I also want to clarify that these projects do not include any bond projects. So what is it we want to present to you this afternoon? First, I would like to provide you a quick reminder of how we fund capital projects, and then I will turn it over to Mr. Robato to cover the status of current and pending funded projects, and then a review of the unfunded pending projects, and then a recommendation for next year's project. Okay, so it's not advancing, I'm sorry.
You got it on the clicker.
I'm so sorry, my presentation is not advancing. Not advancing for some reason. I tried that. Okay. What I can do is let me try. Here it is. I'm sorry? Oh. Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. Sorry about this delay. So where does the funding come from to fund our capital project? Well, first I want to remind the board that the institutional budget for physical plant of $11.5 million that funds the day-to-day operations of 6 college facilities does not generally fund ongoing maintenance of infrastructure, mechanical, HVAC, electrical, minor renovation of facilities, and minor construction. So what you have here before you is a summary of what we're currently using to fund current and future projects. So first and foremost, we have an annual budgeted transfer from the unrestricted fund. So in other words, from the budget that you would be approving in August. And that annual budget transfer has been, for a while now, $900,000 that goes to the unexpended plan fund, which is part of the overall plan fund, and $110,000 to the renewal and replacement fund. Then we also have what we call the project reserve fund. I know you've heard that mentioning that fund in the past, and that is replenished by year-end budget surpluses and after the allocation to the unrestricted fund balance. For example, at the end of the fiscal year, we look at what our budget surpluses are, what is our increase in fund balance, which the increase in unrestricted fund balance represents the excess of revenue over expenses for the year. And so we look at where we should be in fund balance, and then we decide that we should then allocate the remainder to the project reserve fund. So this is how we've been able to fund the majority of our projects for the last several years now. And the current balance of that fund, and I remember Ms. Sanchez requested that information a couple of meetings ago, and currently it's $3.9 million. We also have an annual budgeted transfer from the auxiliary fund, and currently it is $75,000 to the preventive maintenance fund. And this is how Mr. Lovato actually funds some preventive maintenance projects, make sure that everything is operating the way it should and does not break down on us. And so that $75,000 comes from actually the auxiliary fund. The $250,000 to the parking lot renovation actually is allocated from the vehicle registration fund. And that also certainly justifies why we do charge a vehicle registration fee to our students and employees of right now $40 a year. So obviously these transfers are very important, because if we cease those transfers, then we don't have the funding needed to make those repairs. And I'm sure you have heard from our students that our parking lots are not necessarily always in the greatest shape. And it is, we have aging campuses, and we need to make sure that we are obviously assuming that responsibility. We also have savings from completed projects that are returned to the project reserve fund. So let's say, for example, Mr. Lovato is budgeting a project to be $50,000. He does add a contingency to that budget. And let's say that the project ends up being to be only $40,000. So the $10,000 is returned to the project reserve fund where it originally came from. And then we have potentials. Yes, sir.
Ms. Chauncey, I have two questions. I apologize for interrupting, but this preventive maintenance fund, first of all, does Mr. Lovato carry a projected preventive maintenance program? And if so,
Yes.
and what
Yes,
if
sir.
so, what is the pending balance on the projected balance or expense for that?
I'm sorry, say that again, Mr. Exler?
Is Mr. Lovato have a preventive maintenance program?
Yes, sir.
And does he have a projected expense that goes with that program?
Expenses, total budget.
Yes, exactly. So every year he has so much money that is allocated to the preventive maintenance. I want to say it's like $90,000. Rick, I believe it's about $90,000 every year that is allocated to the preventive maintenance fund. And so with that money, that he knows how much he can do with that money. So yes, he does. He always has a program.
I guess what I'm asking is, if he were to do all of preventive maintenance, just a current cost of all the preventive maintenance, that he could see what that total expense would be. Do you have that number?
If we do not have it now, we certainly can provide it to you.
No, I just wondered. Actually, I guess what I'm getting at is, if we have preventive maintenance fund, just in ballpark numbers, what do we think we're going to need, and what is the current total of funds in the preventive maintenance fund? In other words, if you look at all of the needs and you were divided by how much we actually have, do we have like 10% of what projected, or do we have 110% of what is projected to be needed?
My question is, is he?
I'll let Mr. Lovato respond.
Mr. Youngster, are you asking what it would cost to catch up with deferred maintenance, or what our annual preventative maintenance expenses?
Yeah, both of them.
Okay. I can't give you. I don't know we spend on preventive maintenance every year, but that is not what it would cost to catch up with deferred maintenance.
I guess what I want to do is make sure that we fund ongoing maintenance. We don't have a preventive maintenance fund that sort of lags behind. What I don't want to do is get caught in a position like some other schools and some other buildings where all of a sudden the preventive maintenance the maintenance needed becomes so great that the whole facility needs to be scrapped and start over with. I think you spend $5 every year to make sure that what you have lasts for a while.
I understand what you're saying, and currently I can say we're spending adequately on preventative maintenance to the point where we're actually catching up a little bit on deferred maintenance. I mean, we make progress every year, which is better than I can say for a lot of facilities around.
Yeah, I realize that we can't fund the whole thing, but I guess I like to hear the fact that we're depleting, we're reducing the deferred maintenance. I'd like to see the deferred maintenance come down to zero, and we zero it out at the end of the year and start over again each budget year.
I would like to see that too. And in fact, in my presentation a little bit, you'll see that most of the projects that I hope to fund for next fiscal year, they are intended to chip away at deferred maintenance.
Okay. Sorry for interruption.
No, thank you. Any questions? That's what we're here for.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Axer. Definitely, this is something that I wanted to, and I did not preface that at the very beginning. The list of projects that you're going to see in a little while are going to chip away at the deferred maintenance projects that we presented to you maybe a year ago, a couple of years ago. And if you recall, it was very substantial. And so some of these projects that we are planning for next year will address some of those projects. So one of the things we are hoping for, we understand that we're still looking at completing one major project as part of our bond program, but we're hoping we may have some potential savings from the unexpended 2016 bond proceeds. So with that, I will turn it over to, unless you have any questions at this point, do you have any questions at all about this funding that you see here before you? And I can tell you that we do a lot with not very much money. So I will turn it over to Mr.
That's the way it's supposed to be, isn't it?
Excuse me?
I thought that was the way it's supposed to do. We do a whole bunch with a little bit, and we accomplish the impossible with nothing.
That seems to be the norm.
Not quite nothing. Certainly, but every little bit helps. So I will turn it over to Mr. Lovato that will cover the projects.
Thanks, appreciate the opportunity to present on this. I'll try and be brief as I can, but nonetheless, we've got a lot to go through. And if there are any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. We can cover the questions at the end as well. What I'd like to look at first off here is the projects that were completed this fiscal year. I'm not going to go through each one, but I will hit some of the major ones. I do want to point out the emergency evacuation chairs have been purchased and installed at all stairways, all buildings that have more than one floor that's been completed. The Northwest air-cooled chiller has been replaced and operational. I want to point out that the Trans-Mountain electrical loop assessment and the Bioreactor electrical loop assessment are basically the same project, and they'll lead into some of the requests I have a little later. The other project I want to point out is we completed the installation of the early college chiller replacement as well. Those projects right there, I don't have a total there, but accounts for a little bit under $1 million that we completed this fiscal year. The next slide is the projects that we have currently in progress. These projects have been funded and are moving forward. The first thing you see there is a Rio Grande fire alarm replacement, which is about 50% complete. That was life safety and very much in need of done. That also chips away at deferred maintenance. That's about $300,000 in that project. Rio Grande H building chiller replacement, that, if you recall, you approved that 2 months ago. The chiller was ordered. It is being installed. The installation starts tomorrow and will be complete within 2 weeks. What else do we have here? A major function of the Trans-Mountain Early College Portable Restroom. That project's been around for almost 2 years now. We're finally getting to the point where we can get that completed. And that really wraps up the projects in progress. Right there, those projects in progress, we have a little over $600,000 So total together, when this fiscal year is complete, we'll be looking at a little over $1.5 million in projects completed.
A question.
This list here shows you the physical. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, question. Do we have any projects? I noticed that you mentioned the higher priority was safety and health type items. Do we have anything else, safety and health and deferred maintenance, that has yet to start?
I'll I have some that I want to move, that I want to recommend to move forward, but nothing yet to start that is on the list of funded but not started. No, sir. If they're life safety, we move forward with as quickly as we could.
Okay, so we don't have any life and safety items that are not in progress, at least administratively or actually operational, right?
No, sir. We hope to have some this coming fiscal year. You'll see that in the slide shortly.
Okay. With life and safety, we need to do something a little bit more than hope.
Well, I say hope, but what I mean is we plan to move forward with them with your approval.
Well, that sounds good.
Okay, so what I've got here is the projects that have been funded but not yet started. As you see, the classroom furniture replacement, that was funded at $600,000. On the agenda, we have $86,000 for replacement of furniture at Mission del Paso. Hopefully you'll be approving shortly.
Where is DW?
District-wide, I apologize. It's DW.
Oh, okay.
This project is DW. And if you have any other questions along the line, ask me.
I am.
Yes, sir? Okay.
I said I am asking.
Yes, sir, you are. We have the roof repair at front of the Americana Village and the gym at Fire Verde. That was on the board in April. I think got tabled. We're hoping to move forward with it now. As Shaughnessy mentioned earlier, this COVID has kind of ends up a double-edged sword. If we can get a lot of these projects accomplished now, we don't have a lot of people on campus, we can get them done quicker, which means less interruption to everybody else. And hopefully when people do come back, they'll notice all the accomplishments that have been done. So that is also on the board agenda. I do want to mention the Northwest Campus first year experience. That project is about a little over 1,000 square feet. Design has been completed. Our original intent was to go to JOC, or job order contract. We got the quote on that, and the quote came $210,000 over budget. Because of that, I did not feel comfortable moving forward with that, so I've been working with Mr. Garbo to convert that to competitive seal proposal. We hope to be having that out in the next couple of months, and I'm hoping to see the prices a little better. I've been trying to figure out what happened with that, why it would go over so much. Only explanation I can have right now is while doesn't seem to be a lot of work out there, contractors are hungry, I think getting labor is getting to be a real problem. At least that's what I've been talking to some of. They seem to have a problem with people coming to work or wanting to come to work. But hopefully competitive seal proposal will give us a better deal. We can move forward with that. We've spoken to Ms. Lujan, who has the grant, and she's extended that grant, so it shouldn't be a problem there. Any questions on that one? We also have the gym, shower, and restroom renovation. Any of you who've been in the gym at Fire Verde know that it is in dire need of renovation. We have the three-quote process moving forward virtually. It's new for us to do a three-quote process virtually, but everybody has to try something new, so we're moving forward with that. Total priority one projects, if you see right there, are a little over $1 million. Priority two projects, the stairwell cladding repair at Fire Verde. That's the exterior stairwells are cracked and in bad condition. It's mainly aesthetics, but a good idea to bring them up to speed. Another deferred maintenance issue. You'll also see the ASC A and B intersection modifications. If you guys recall, I did give you a presentation earlier this year showing what we plan to do with the intersection here. I have spoken to the personnel from Fountains at Farah, and they are in support of the project and would like us to move forward with it. I'm recommending we do, and hopefully I can take that to next month's board. And that one is also life safety. Thank you. If for any of you who've tried to cross the road there. District-wide parking signage replacement, we're in the process of replacing all exterior parking signs, stop signs, staff parking, everything. They're all faded. So we've started Trans Mountain. We're about 3/4 of the way there through there, and we'll be moving campus to campus. We should be able to accomplish that before December of this year. The next one is priority 3, which is KTSM, the architect and the renovation. Because of COVID issue and us not having people on campus, it's been hard to do any design preparation for this. So we've got it on hold pending return of staff. And well, we'll just have to see when that does occur. Priority 3 and 4s, I've got stairwell. Well, actually, let's go here. 4 and 5s are projects I'm considering putting on hold. Mainly because you're going to see, I think we have a need for funds elsewhere, and these ones can be done at any time without any major interruption of services. We're looking at the stairwell modifications for both A and B buildings. What that entails is adding another handicap ramp. We're currently in compliance, so it won't be an issue with accessibility. So we put those 2 on hold on an issue. 5 and the 5s are additional landscaping out at Trans Mountain. We hope to get that area completed. We have the design complete, but that's $110,000 we might be able to use elsewhere. And the last one, the ISC faculty offices renovations. That's almost $1 million. And since we're not going to have people on campus for a while, it didn't seem smart to move forward with that at this time. Thank you, Giselle. Any questions on that slide? Unfunded projects for 2021. These projects that have come up, some of them are life safety, you'll see on there. Most of them are projects we've decided, this is where we decide what we're going to ask for money funds for the following year. I've broken up by priority 1s, 2s, and 3s. If you look at, well, let's look at it this way. This project here, which got the ATC boiler replacement, which the boiler has failed, we need to go forward with that. Switch gear removal and transformer replacement, ASC 8. Cooling tower replacements at ASC B building and Trans Mountain. The transformer cable replacement. I'll speak a little bit more on these electrical projects in the next slide. Trans Mountain electrical loop repair and transformer replacement. Building H mechanical room stair replacement. That is, those stairs are in need of replacement badly. HVAC replacement. We've got 2 units. I had 4 originally, 2 have already failed. These last 2 units need to be replaced as well. The C building, additional elevator, that's one that we discussed quite a bit. And now with COVID coming up and the fact that we will have elevator restrictions, it's probably a good idea to move forward with it. Transportation center, we have 2 projects that need to be changed there, the HVAC modifications and the dyno exhaust system.
What does MP stand for?
Yes, sir.
What does MP stand for? Yeah, 40,000 MP.
Over here on the end.
Oh, it's HVAC. I'm sorry, give me a second.
It's over here.
Oh, master plan, I apologize. They're part of the master plan project.
Okay.
And what they are is there are issues that were left out of the master plan. For instance, I'll go into it now. The Ctc Hvac Modifications, they are working a little bit on the evaporative cooling systems to make them a little quieter. The people are having a hard time teaching there when they're on there. They're a little loud. So we've got some modifications going on there to quiet them down. The dyno exhaust system, The dynamometer that was installed is a little heavier duty than what was originally spec'd out. So the exhaust system is not adequate for it. So it's gonna have to be redesigned, and the redesign is being done at no cost to us, but the modifications will be a cost. There's $35,000 there. And Northwest fume hood exhaust corrections. The fume hood exhaust systems are not operating correctly. They went in as per design, but in order to correct them, it's going to cost about $30,000. Mission Del Paso road repair, service road repair. That is the back access road from Mission Del Paso. During heavy rains, it tends to flood because of the arroyo running straight through it. We're hoping to modify that to allow the arroyo to run, create a bridge so the arroyo will run underneath it, and we'll no longer have access blocked during heavy rainstorms. We also have the gym shower replacement at Trans Mountain. That's a priority 2. It should be done, but it could probably wait a little bit. 3s and 4s, we have the law enforcement, HVAC controls, and the same thing with building A. And last but not least, on 4 is the Ctc epoxy floor. You recall that there was a time that people there wanted to move forward with it. At this time, it's not such a high priority, so we're recommending holding that. And that is also a recommendation from the people at TPC. Okay, what I did is based on the previous slide, the projects we're proposing to move forward with in 2021 are all the priority ones. You're looking at it's about 2.9 million in projects. The boiler replacement, as I said, it failed. It has to move forward. AFC switchgear removal and transformer replacement. What we hope to do there is upgrade the system. At AFCA, it was initially a toy factory. A lot of the electrical system here is still designed to support that role and not the office role we've got here. As a result, it's all aged. We have a hard time getting replacement parts. So I want to remove part of the switchgear is no longer needed and replace all the transformers out here with new transformers that are sized correctly for the building load. And like I say, these are projects that because of COVID and nobody being here, we might not be able to approach these electrical projects normally, but now we could probably work them in. ACB cooling tower replacement, those cooling towers they're getting old and they're no longer functioning at 100%, so it's time to replace them as well. Same thing with Trans Mountain. If you look at Playa Verde, I have transformer cable replacement. We have a lot of underground cable there. If you recall, I think it was 2 years ago now, we had an outage for about a week there where the cable failed and we had to replace it. Part of the assessment that I had done was looking at all our underground cable for all the campuses, and Playa Verde came up with being in severe need of replacing it. In fact, there were sometimes they opened the transformers and they were afraid to touch the cable because some of the junctions were so brittle they thought they would come apart. We're looking at almost $1 million to do that, but that's also upgrading the transformers. You know, these are infrastructure projects that are on deferred maintenance lists that normally would have a hard time approaching because once again, we have people here. We can do these in phases and take buildings down and possibly get all these done before we get everybody out here again. Trans Mountain is the same boat. When we built the new building, they had to break the electrical loop. Let me take that back. Trans Mountain once had an electrical power line that went all the way around it. What that does is if we had a transformer failure anywhere on that building, we could backfeed it from another area. Well, when they built the new building, they couldn't put the building over that loop by code. So they had to break that loop. And what this does is reinstate the electrical loop and also replace the transformers that are over 20 years old as well. Rio Grande H building mechanical room stair replacement, that's another life safety. The stairs are failing us and I really need to get them replaced. ATC, those are the 2 units I mentioned before. C building additional elevator. In the previous slide, I had it listed almost 300,000. We can probably only do the design this year and hope to get the the installation the following year. Depending on how quick the design goes, we might change on that. That's what I'm looking at right now. The Ctc Hvac Modifications, the dyno exhaust are there, and the three master plan projects. And last but not least, the service road repair at Mission del Paso.
I have a real question. The TTC HVAC and dyno, is that a result of the new transportation center that once we built it, then all of a sudden we find that it's deficient?
I think that's more a result of the fact that when we didn't have the same people involved in the design process as we had when they occupied the building. So we didn't, the information that was given to designers at the time was probably correct, but when we had the occupants move in, some of the things changed and we have to modify the end result now.
So in other words, there's no legitimate reason to see if we can't get somebody else to participate in part of the cost of this.
Well, actually, not from a design standpoint. From a design standpoint, the architect and the engineers have jumped in and redesigned it at no cost. But the construction side, we have no alternative but to make nobody hold accountable.
Okay.
Mr. Lovato?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on service road repair. How is that going to happen? I'm just curious because we get so many complaints whenever there's a little bit of water in the world, and that's where everybody gets all bent out of shape because we've got so many students in that area.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time.
Did you hear the question?
Could you repeat the question, please? I apologize.
He wants to know how your road repair is going to work. There's a lot of students that complain of the water situation.
The one at the Mission campus.
Oh, is it really a safety issue? It's not really I know people complain about it, but if you have the opportunity to see that road, when we do have a heavy rain, it is completely closed. And that leaves us with only one entrance and one access point. So it basically removes one way for people to get out. And you know what? That is the major entrance and access point now. That road is really the one that is used most heavily. So I would suggest moving forward with this and do call it life safety because of the way traffic there could be an accident there easily.
Okay, and I'm very familiar with the fact that it gets closed down, but that doesn't stop the complaining because that's become a major entrance area. My question was more, what is the plan? Is there going to be like a bridge or what's the plan? Because definitely there's an arroyo area there.
That is the plan right now. We hope to raise the area and put culverts underneath and allow the arroyo to flow as it once did naturally. Somewhere along the line, people started creating a dam there. So I have an engineer that is currently working on the design, and we're having to work with the people that are downstream of us because we do need to coordinate with them because we will be, if things go the way we want it to go, we'll be returning the flow of that arroyo to its natural state.
And because the 45,000 is only for the design.
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
idea what it's going to cost to actually get the job done?
I'm taking a guess at this, but I think it's going to be in the neighborhood of 150 to 200,000.
It's a big neighborhood.
Yeah, it is a big neighborhood. Whereabouts is it on the priority list?
Right now, what I've got right here is at the bottom of the priority list, but all these are number ones, so and we're moving forward with the design. It's just that once I have a good idea of what it's going to actually cost, we'll see how we can fund it and move from there.
Okay. I'm just concerned because we have a lot of parents and young people going through there, and it becomes a dangerous area.
Dr. Grande, I agree with you 100%, which is why we want to get it done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. If there are no questions, I appreciate your time. Have a good afternoon, a good evening.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Jose, you have 10 minutes. I'm not kidding. You have to be done by 5:15 in order to be in the board meeting at 5:30.
I thought you were going to give her an hour.
Rick took it all.
So just to kind of close on this particular presentation, though, you know, the purpose of showing those kind of projects to you is that, you know, obviously in light of the budgetary constraints, that we still would be able to go to the board to request approval on these projects, procuring the services to do those projects, because we feel like they really need to be done into next fiscal year. So just to kind of give you an idea, when we go to the board, they've already been vetted, and unless we have something else that comes up during the next fiscal year that really needs to be addressed, that may not be on the list. I mean, that could happen, but certainly this is what we are looking at for next year. So we do thank you for your support. So I have said 10 minutes, Mr. Hvac.
Unless the board is willing to, if we can post this and maybe have a workshop on Monday, because it's a 72-hour, you have to give a 72-hour notice for any kind of meeting. I just can't see you doing this in 10 minutes.
Well, a lot of this information we've already been reading.
I could cover the first slide and the last slide.
I mean, it's up to you. I don't want to cut you short, and I know the board's going to have a lot of questions because of the budget and because of the pandemic. My suggestion is that we set this up for a special board meeting for a workshop so that we can go over it quite well, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions about the pandemic and how we're going to handle the next fiscal year. So, any suggestions from any other members of the board that are listening by phone?
This is John. This is John. If you want to do it Monday, that's okay with me.
Okay. Ms. Sanchez?
Has to be at 5 or later.
Hold on. I'm sorry, Judge. I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that, please? I apologize.
We're discussing, Joseph Thomas, he had quite a presentation to give us on the budget. I think it's very important that we designate the time and go over it because of the pandemic and what's going to happen for the next year. We have a meeting at 5:30, and I was told that we have to stop. It's going to take 15 minutes to set up. So what I would like to do is suggest a special board meeting for a workshop on Monday. I know you work at the county. I understand. Can we do it in the evening, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Possible?
Yes, sir. That's fine. I agree. If we could push it to 5, I would appreciate it. But however the majority of the board feels is fine with me.
Okay. Well, I think I haven't spoken to the rest. How about Ms. Nara? Is 5 o'clock on Monday okay?
You know, I've got a really busy schedule. Yes, Monday at 5 o'clock is perfect.
Since she has a really busy schedule, but Monday at 5 will work.
Okay. Ms. Pena? Ms. Pena?
Nina?
She's on the line.
She is on the line. She has no mic.
Miss Pena just sent a message that she's having technical difficulties.
Okay, we'll have to contact her. Can you make it on the day, please?
you.
Okay. Justin, I hate to cut you off, but this is very important, and I think we need to designate enough time to go over it because of the pandemic. And it's a lot of information that you can't do in 10 minutes.
And we certainly concur with you, Mr. Haggerty, and we will be ready to present whenever the board wants us to.
Okay, so Monday at 5, put it in your little books that you have to be here at 5 o'clock on Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so I hear a motion to adjourn.
So made, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyway.